Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey, Jessica Jones fans. Welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV for the Jessica Jones After Show. We are all in a state of shock.
I was like, Mark's really committed to this bit.
I mean, I don't know when everyone else watched it. You guys at home, I literally just finished episode 10 before we came into the studio. And I am devastated who I am. I'm Zach Wilson, A.K.A. your host for
A.K.A.
Jessica
Devastated.
Jones.
That is a terrible superhero name.
Thank you so much for joining us. You can tweet at me throughout the week, throughout the show, at that Zach Wilson. Let me introduce my fantastic panel today. Mark Donica.
Hi, I'm the Internet Soapbox Mark Donica. You can find me on Twitter at SoapboxMark. And question whether I'm okay or not, because I'm not. I watched these middle of the night last night.
Oh no!
Did not sleep. No. I literally had to watch like 2 hours of like comedy Let's Plays to make me feel better. Sure. And I'm still just like phased and in a funk. God.
And I am Emma Fyffe. You can follow me all over the internet at Emma Fyffe. I'm also not okay. I think Mark is more not okay than I am. But
So not okay.
I had sort of the opposite experience where like I woke up and couldn't fall back asleep, and I was like, all right, I guess I might as well just go ahead and watch these Jessica Jones episodes. But it was in the morning. It was in the morning, and then I had to take a nap from all the emotional turmoil.
Jesus Christ.
I am Jesse Klein. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JessKlein1. I was drinking a glass of wine. And
During that last scene?
Yeah, during that last scene.
You know what?
And then I immediately
That's glass of sherry.
I immediately moved on to harder alcohol.
Yeah.
So,
Put me one of these for me, like drinking it.
yep. That's pretty much exactly. I was there and I was like, no,
I'm done for now.
thank you. That was insane. I am also equally devastated. I would, however, say that I think it was the first show. I was like, you don't name a character Hope unless they're doomed.
Yeah.
Like if you name a character Hope, they're doomed from the beginning.
And I really wanted her to come out of this, but she did not. Just not at all.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, we are mostly all wearing scarves.
I know, we
as
are.
Mary in the chat is like, are you guys all wearing a scarf for screaming too much? The screen?
Well,
It's like a comfort.
I didn't get the scarf memo, so I am.
It was
My
pure,
neck is sadly
it actually
bare.
was pure coincidence.
Yeah, it
we
was
actually
pure-
did not discuss this.
no pre-planning. Maybe someone just told us that we wanted to wear scarves.
Stop it! Stop it right now, please. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's start off with the big chunk, the big part of episode 9, A.K.A. Sin Bin, and the box. As Boo69B said, puts Killgrave. There's a little Sly Doctor Who thing. It's maybe not a madman in a box.
In a box, yeah.
We've got Killgrave. Jessica's got him captured in the sealed room where he is effectively powerless.
Yeah.
Except he's still the one in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
like he never did not have power that entire time.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a very interesting scene when Jessica went in there.
Yeah.
Because, as you say, Jesse, it's like he was still 100% in control, even though technically she was in control of herself.
Well, that's
Well,
just...
I mean, yeah, I think Killgrave was very much playing for Hogarth.
Yeah.
Like, he knows that Hogarth's a lawyer, that now on video, there is just a video of Jessica beating the crap out of him, Jessica torturing him, Jessica using, like, what the military uses as torture control techniques by playing, like, a video of him getting hurt as a child over and over and over again. Like, Jessica was not very likable in that episode. She's not, and I don't think she was supposed to be, but she was out of control.
Yeah.
Like, she was completely out of control, and Killgrave was completely in control.
Yeah.
Jessica is desperate. She's painted in a corner. Now there's, like, this timeline where they've offered a plea deal to Hope. Like, all of this time. So now she's got to... She's working out of her wits, and Killgrave was completely in control that entire time without using his powers until the very end.
Though at the same time, I think that, you know, obviously what Jessica was doing was horrible, but it's almost like her own kind of plan backfired on her, because she had set up everything in order for herself to be in control.
Yeah.
And she just simply was not. And you understand why she did what she did, because what she went through with Killgrave was so awful, but that doesn't make it a good decision.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that while she was ultimately, the ends, she had good intentions, but torturing someone on camera, the methods were not well thought through.
Yes.
But to the point where we were talking about, like, how much he managed to stay in control, it really does just speak. This show continues to speak to the victim attacker mentality, and the fact that, like, no matter how much you may feel, though, that somebody that's been hurt that much may feel like they've gotten away from it or reversed the roles or whatever, that person took control away from them, and so they will never truly be in control of themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, that is something
until they can deal with those emotions.
Exactly, and it's something that she acknowledged when she left the torture chamber, which she had basically jerry-rigged into being a torture chamber, where you know, she came outside and she's like, he was in complete control of me. He didn't use his powers on me, but, like, I had no control over myself. I just beat the shit out of him, and that was not the right thing to do.
To put it lightly.
Yeah.
We've been seeing it all season, though, with Killgrave going, I'm not gonna control you, but this person's gonna slit their throat unless you do what I say.
Well, I mean, we got revealed in the next episode that Killgrave can't control her.
Yeah.
That she is, which in the comic books, she goes to Jean Grey, and Jean Grey like puts in, like, barriers for her so that she can never get mind controlled by him again.
Yeah. It's a cool little twist. I mean, very much,
that we'll never see.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, I think
Also
this
would have felt in this show to have an outside force do it for her would have felt cheap.
Yeah.
I agree.
It worked in the comic book because it was more about accepting help.
Yeah.
And that was Jessica's big triumph, and that is that she needed to ask someone for help. It wouldn't have worked here, but I like this as how, like, this decision of how they worked, how she got over.
In that storyline, was Killgrave still biological, or was it?
How is he in the books?
I'm not sure at that point, because I believe the virus part, I think he was still pheromone at that point, but the virus was introduced in Thunderbolts when Luke Cage was in charge of the Thunderbolts.
Because they don't actually go into the mechanics of it in Alias.
Yeah, they don't.
So it's
Still
all
working
other
through
books.
it. Yeah, it's a big book.
Yeah, I mean, Alias is the story is much less about, like, the nature of superpowers and more about, like, the nature of super beings.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not important to the story how Killgrave works.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, just in terms of using the biological with the just natural immunity.
Yeah.
Was in so many words, I agree, but actually having Jessica find Kevin's parents.
Kevin Thompson,
much less exotic name.
Yeah.
What was Jessica's line? Oh, Killgrave was what was taken?
Murder.
Oh gosh, it
like
was
murder skull.
Yeah,
or
something like that. Yeah.
It was Murder Skull.
Chat will let us know.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, I really like the idea. A virus makes sense, and it makes sense that because she was exposed to him for such a long time, that her body could have built up antibodies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that it makes sense. I think it's a very elegant kind of
corpse.
Yeah.
Murder corpse.
Yeah.
I think it's a very elegant kind of solution for this problem.
Yeah.
And it also kind of helps, like, now there's at least the introduction, the idea of, you know, coming up with a way to prevent being infected by him. But also, I mean, now Killgrave has his dad, so he could also get upgrades as well.
Upgrades.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, like, his dad is a biologist
Yeah.
who specializes specifically in his dad, like, in what Killgrave does. He could technically, like, make him more powerful. Like, that's what biologists do.
I mean, if you can, I mean,
And that could turn him purple.
I mean, my immediate thought when you say upgrade is if you can dilute the virus to a point where you can cure it, you could also weaponize it. You could distill the virus down, put it in the water supply, put it in some kind of dispersal unit of any kind,
like
and
fish
then
oil pills or something.
Right.
Just off the top of my head.
but then once it's in anybody's system, theoretically, all he would need is them to hear him, to hear his voice, and they would be susceptible, or maybe even just susceptible to anyone at that point. Maybe just highly suggestible.
Yeah.
But who called it, though, that Hogarth was going to use the fetus to try to isolate the power? Boom, terrible person. Absolutely awful human being. And now with that, he could go with that.
If he has a fetus, if he has stem cells,
with the virus,
with his virus,
make a
before we get too far into this,
sorry.
I want to keep talking about just the whole thing in the cage.
Yeah.
Because this was a very emotionally, I found myself, I was like, I kept having to stop and think about what I was feeling in episode 9, because in that episode I felt bad for Killgrave a lot. I found myself almost siding with Killgrave a lot, and it was disturbing to think about because of the horrific person that we know that he is, but I couldn't help it.
It's what Killgrave wanted you to do, Zach.
Ooh, Killgrave made me do it.
Now, taking the scarf off.
I think
it's evil.
I was feeling the exact same way, and then I was like, that is his, like, I was like, oh, he's like, the people who directed these 2 episodes, specifically what the first one, 8, 9?
9.
9. The person who directed 9 did a really good job, because now we, the viewer, are being manipulated by Killgrave. We've seen him do horrible things. That doesn't mean we can't feel bad. We see another human being hurt. No matter how bad that person is, it lets us know that we are good people, because we still feel bad about someone being hurt.
You're right.
Yeah.
But it's still, they're using that manipulation for us to be like, oh, maybe Killgrave isn't as bad as we think he is, or like maybe
it opens up the possibility that anybody can do terrible things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and you know, when Hogarth was by herself, seeing him in the box basically for the first time, like that scene, to me, I just was watching the screen going like, no, oh, she's gonna make a really bad choice right now, because again, it's like we're seeing Killgrave in this situation that no person should ever go through. Like, you know, even though we know he's so awful, as humans, as good people, as you say, Jesse, like, your inclination is this awful thing is happening to somebody, so I feel badly, even though I know how horrible they are. And so when Hogarth was confronting him, and she was faced, and of course we all know she's faced with, oh, my ex-wife won't sign the divorce papers. I was like, oh, she's gonna let him go.
Bitch
She's
is
gonna,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as she's in there, she's like, oh. I mean, the whole time we've seen her like struggling to get her to sign. It's like, oh, she wants to just tell Wendy sign them and then force her to do it.
Yep.
I mean,
by the way, this episode was directed by John Dahl, who also directed. He's directed a whole bunch of movies and a lot of television, including House of Cards, Justified. He directed the 1998 movie Rounders.
Oh, Rounders is a good
movie.
Yeah.
As well as a number of other things.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it's very easy to just be like, yeah, let's get rid of Killgrave, just kill him, whatever. But until Hope died, I don't think Jessica ever considered that as an option. And I think since Hope's dying words were, you can kill him now, I don't really see this show ending any other way.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get a weird reverse story where a lot of superhero stories, specifically Daredevil, was about him deciding that killing was not the correct option, and that even though it's harder to not kill, that's the more super heroic, that's kind of like the more morally correct option. I think we're getting a weird reverse superhero story where Jessica will decide that killing is her only option. I don't think this episode ends on hugs or a happy moment. I think that the way they are setting up this story, this show ends either like ambiguously or bittersweet or just straight up bitter. Like, there's no way. I mean, just the way these two episodes are foreshadowing just thematically the rest of the show.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I thought that torture chamber was so like just disgusting. Like, it felt every time we were there, it was really gross. Like, I had a lot of trouble watching that episode. Like, it was the first time, like, and with the parents, like, those actors were so sweet.
The parents, I mean,
so sweet.
But sweet, and like, it was such an interesting way that this was built, because we're introduced to this idea that Killgrave was not born this way. He was not a mutation. He's not an inhuman or anything like that. He was the product of an experiment.
Right.
And like, so that is, I think, like, the Netflix series, like, Marvel does things in sort of bunches, in their way that people are created. Like, we had the Avengers brought together through differences, and they were different for a reason, to sort of introduce different parts of the world. Now we're getting S.H.I.E.L.D. is Inhumans. It's about about being an outside force, the aliens tinkering with human DNA. We have Captain America tinkered with DNA, but by choice. Then we have
most of Marvel is tinkering with the super soldier.
But in Netflix so far, it's all been science. We don't know Jessica's origin story yet. But Daredevil, chemicals, and Luke Cage, an experiment.
Yeah, it's been science and circumstance. It unlike Cap, where it was like I'm choosing to do this. These people aren't necessarily choosing to have these things done to them.
That's the story of the superheroes of Hell's Kitchen. Is that no one chose this life. They were given it, and then each person reacted in a different way. Luke Cage chose to use it when he can, but doesn't really need to show off. He just he uses it to protect himself and what's his. Jessica toys with the idea of being a hero, but ultimately doesn't know what to do with that. Just, she has no idea how to use that ability. So far, Trish is so far the straight up most heroic person. But the person who doesn't have the powers. Killgrave gets one of the most powerful abilities of any of them, and it turns him to evil. I do say, and I continue what I've said the last few episodes. In a different universe where somebody was there to guide Killgrave and help him, he is a good person. He is a hero.
Right.
That's the twisted part. You can see through this mask, and that's a credit to Tennant and his ability. Is that like you can see that there is a good person. Somewhere 20 years ago in Kevin Thompson. Kevin Thompson could have been a good person. When he decided to become Killgrave,
the Kevinator, the superhero, the Kevinator.
He gave up. He gave up Kevin Thompson and gave up being a good person.
That's the problem. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it was such an interesting reveal too, that like the reason that he became Killgrave and that they were doing these experiments on him at all was that he was gonna go brain dead. So his parents were trying to basically save him. And what it boils down to is that he ended up with these parents who were terrified of him, and they didn't provide a like firm parenting guidance, and that's what made him, you know, we talked a lot on the last episode about how in many ways Killgrave is a child, and I think that is 100% true.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have any parenting.
And speaking on both of those fronts, Tennant's performance, like I didn't fall for it until Mom and Dad walked in and we saw Kevin, Mom?
Yeah.
Until we saw that, I was like, something either really good or really bad is about to happen, and I hope it's not the bad one.
But you see his vulnerability in that
Yeah, you
moment.
see the 10-year-old boy in his eyes.
But we also see the rewriting of history that we've seen him do before.
Yeah.
Where he says that he's a product of experimentation, but it was not that. His parents were caring, loving people who were saving their child and trying to do whatever they could and tried to stay with him even after he made his mom burn her face with an iron because she wasn't paying attention to him. And they didn't abandon him because they thought he was disgusting.
No.
They abandoned him because they were terrified and could not help it. Like, it's a complete rewrite of history, which we also see earlier in it when he says that he saved her from thugs in an alleyway. And when they first met, he rewrote history again and is saying,
then in the next episode too.
Yeah.
18 seconds.
Yeah, and in those 18 seconds were a complete rewrite. He completely forgets about the fact that he almost made her cut her ear off.
Yeah.
Like, so, and that's, again, a very childish behavior where you just make history fit whatever narrative you feel helps you the most.
Yeah. The whole thing with the parents really reminded me, just a quick side, of that Twilight Zone. I think it was like It's a Good Life or something, with the little boy who can do anything.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And the whole town's just living in fear.
The whole town is like afraid of him.
God, that's so
and they just have to
freaky.
bend to his beck and whim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think a clear influence. Not to say like, oh, they stole it or anything, but like Twilight Zone influences a lot of.
Of course it does.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
Pretty much all modern sci-fi is influenced by
But
Twilight Zone.
Emma, you had something?
No, I just, again, it goes back to, you know, what we were saying about, you know, Killgrave never maturing beyond sort of 10 years old.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have to, because anything he wanted to happen happened.
Which we totally missed pointing out that another Doctor Who
Right.
little too was like, you're not 10 anymore.
Yeah.
To David Tennant. He's not 10
So
anymore.
going to the video and knowing that there are other children in other labs, we were talking about this. Number one, and that might be a connection to Daredevil, that there's that child that they bring forward. I forget, like Dark Sun or like something Storm that Daredevil gets brought in and the stick kills him.
Yeah. The kid that they ship in.
Yeah,
He's the special cargo.
That Nobu ships in.
I totally forgot that was a kid.
Yeah. But also, we were talking about famous people who, in the Marvel universe, who are experiments when they were children.
They have what they've done here is, by showing us other kids in that lab, they've basically given themselves the perfect optional origin story for any character that they want to introduce with powers who could be around Killgrave's age.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is 30s.
Yeah.
So it like 20s, 30, any 20s, late 20s, early 30s character they want to bring in.
Well, technically, any age,
Easy.
like as long as they've established that there is an evil like group of scientists who are experimenting on children who might show abilities. We don't know how old it is. We don't know how.
Oh, I guess in my head it was just the two of them, like the two parents. But I guess they could.
No. Killgrave said that there were other labs.
Yeah.
He was like, those were videos from other labs.
Oh, those were other labs.
Yeah, and maybe not necessarily just in Manchester.
In my mind, I read that as like the lab next door.
No, I think he was saying
that was the kid down the hole.
Like
I think
AfterBuzz, we have four studios, but they're next to each other.
And in the
Can I
other
ask
ones,
something?
they torture us.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of confused on that line of thought and this isn't spoiler territory at all.
Thank you,
Stephen Lemieux.
Is that you've met the parents now?
Yeah.
The parents have told you that they weren't doing experiments on their son; they were literally just doing medication to fix him.
Right.
So why would the other videos of them doing things be experiments as opposed to just trying to fix them.
Well, there's two options, I think.
Everybody was like,
Yeah.
I think it could be more people with the same neural disease,
Right.
And like you try different things to fix the problem, and
Yes.
different options would result in different powers in theory.
My thought, number one, is I think his parents used that laboratory because they needed the funding and they needed the equipment. And number two, my thought is that Riva was compiling a bunch of damning evidence. Like she was compiling all of this damning evidence against these companies. That Riva, we don't know what her job was or anything like that.
Riva being Luke
Cage's wife
dead
that
wife.
Jessica
Just
killed.
to clarify, if
Yes,
that's forgotten.
I think Riva was compiling. That's what that jump drive was for.
Yeah.
She was compiling a bunch of evidence to bring against this company that is doing experiments on children. So that was like one laboratory that she was like showing like here's experiments on children, and like was just taking all of the child experiments that she could find with evidence and putting it together on one video.
It could be several things. It could be a version of Hydra that's trying to find special children to make their own super soldier,
Which would lead to Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman.
Yeah, that was my first thought. I'm like,
Yeah.
what characters could they use to bring in here?
Yeah.
It could also be a revisionist X-gene experimentation.
Yeah.
Well, like, since we can't do that,
Right.
it could be a way of doing that without saying that it's the X gene.
Well, or like instead of mutant growth hormone, which is like a huge thing in the comics, where it's like it will give, like it's basically a drug you can take to give you a mutation, like it
For
could
a short period of time,
for
you
sure,
get powers.
yeah, and usually you die afterwards. But like. You know, it could be, instead of that, it's just like a replacement kind of how to get or give superpowers to regular people.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it could be it could be another version. I mean, I know we saw AIM in Iron Man 2, but I've constantly been waiting for AIM to make a reappearance in some form, because for me, they're one of the more interesting groups because they really are just about science.
Yeah.
They're science without any holding back.
I'm not waiting for AIM. I'm waiting for MODOK.
MODOK comes if you can't bring AIM back.
That's what I mean.
The Slacker Elite said maybe Roxxon Oil, which is another company that just kind of is
Well,
like...
we've seen Roxxon in Agent Carter.
Yeah.
So we know that they exist.
Yeah,
at
and
least.
they also are another company that just kind of like unregulated just growth and using superheroes and that kind of stuff. So it could be any of those things. I think the introduction of multiple laboratories gives, like you were saying, gives Netflix just a great great way to combine like any of these stories together.
I mean,
like,
that could even be, you could just make it what caused, you're messing with somebody's mind.
Right.
So like you could even take a character like Moon Knight, who has like split personality disorder.
Yeah.
And like this is why.
Yeah.
Gotta get that Moon Knight.
Or even like in Daredevil, like that truck could have been going or coming from one of these facilities.
Oh, that would be to me that would fix like the one gripe I had about Daredevil, which is the easy like radioactiveness gave me super strength thing.
Yeah.
Right.
We still don't know Jessica's origin story, so we're waiting to hear about that.
I agree that like either way, it's a very smart move on Marvel's part to basically, because again, it's very much in line with the more sort of grounded tones I think that we get in the Netflix series, where it provides a scientific explanation rather than a fantastical one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, still a lot to cover here.
So much. This is hour one of our 6-hour recap of these two
We haven't
episodes.
even gotten to Simpson yet.
No, trust me, we're
Simpson.
gonna get to Simpson,
Look at how much time we got.
A.K.A. Nuke. Confirmed.
Question. I mean, as
It
not
seems pretty
necessarily
confirmed to
in
me.
name yet.
Well,
No, but
let's-
he had red, white, and blue pills.
Yeah.
and maybe 2 hearts.
Well, we'll talk about that in a heartbeat, because I want to take a moment to just shout out some folks on iTunes who were
Okay.
nice enough to give us a review. Guys, if you don't know, if you haven't heard the speeches on our shows before, going on to iTunes, hitting us with a review, making sure you hit that subscribe button. That's a big help to us. It really helps. It helps every show here at the network. It helps us keep the lights on, helps other fans find us so that they can enjoy this show. And it helps, it also just warms our hearts when we get to read these reviews.
It also helps us get fantastic guests.
It does,
like
because
next
it makes,
week.
it helps us get guests like when Wil Simpson, or as he's known in real life, Wil Traval.
Yeah.
It's very confusing because he plays
Both
Will,
Will,
his
yeah.
name is Will.
Yeah. Well, when there's a will, there's a way.
Well, either way, Will be joining us in studio on Monday at 3 p.m. for our recap of episodes 11 and 12. And we couldn't have done that without your guys' support and your just amazing how much you've made. It's a great show.
Thank you, studio audience.
So
Where did they come from?
let's do some shout outs here. Battle Girl Deb says, "Sorry to leave out my first review, Mark and Emma. Now that I know you, it will never happen again. ABTV Jessica Jones crew, rock on."
Side character high five.
Yeah.
Alex Clifford says, "Excellent after show. I first started with AfterBuzz TV's after show with their Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast, having been a Marvel Comics fan of Marvel Comics when I was a teenager back in the 90s and the MCU now. It's nice getting info on all the comics I've missed with Jessica Jones, a character I knew nothing about." And then, sorry, I'm going to skip over. This one, I found some weird mixed emotions about.
Do you want me to read it in a sexy voice?
No,
Okay.
I do not.
All right, feel free.
But it's the 5 stars, best AfterBuzz podcast ever from Sean, A.K.A. Killgrave Lover 69, and it gets scarier for me because a great panel, great discussion, great insights, great panel, great show. What more can I say? This podcast is one of the best I've ever heard and deserves to be on top of the charts. P.S. Zach Wilson, will you marry me? I've got a great collection of infinity scarves. I am frightened. That's first of all, that's a milestone for me. First marriage proposal via iTunes.
Well, what's your answer?
No, Killgrave Lover 69.
Well, Zach, I just want 100% transparency. I didn't know it would show my name when I left the comment, so sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
We would get invited to the wedding, though, right?
I mean, I would compel you.
I was going to say, you're going to make us wear purple.
Spartan 0325.
That gets the rim shot with the pun stone? I love you, Steven.
Just to be quick, I love the show when I was watching, but listening to your analysis of the series as well as your sheer excitement makes the experience so much better. Donald Blake, MD, says,
a doctor.
Thor?
Thor is watching our flipping.
A.K.A. the definitive Jessica Jones podcast. The knowledge, insight, and passion the hosts bring make this a great companion to the show. Keep up the great work. And lastly, Jimborn D95. Love the show. Love the podcast. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for saying nice things about us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We made it to 30 reviews, guys.
Nice.
And we hope #Killgrave didn't make you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if he did, like,
We still like it.
Our biggest fan.
he saves children one day, he gives us reviews the next.
Yeah.
He does a couple good things
Yeah.
with about 1,000 bad. It doesn't outweigh it.
Yeah, makes his mom repeatedly stab herself with scissors.
Okay.
Okay, now we're back in. Okay, so Will went to the hospital demanding to see Dr. Kozlov. Basically, what we find out from this is that he was in experiments while he was in the army. With the red, white, and blue pills, famous to Nuke's storyline. And I think we can safely say on this after show, called it.
Yeah, we definitely. That's a swish.
I think Jesse, you were the first one of us
Jesse.
to
Jesse gets 100%.
call it.
Yeah,
So
I'd give Jesse
it to
all the
Jesse.
credit.
Thank you so much. I'll be accepting this. When other people could have been doing important things with their lives, I stayed inside and read comic books. It was all for this. Thank you.
Sorry, Mooncow on Twitter on the chat. I like this show. Another. That's Thor's review.
That would have been awesome.
So
intense. Like,
So crazy.
he was already an intense guy. Will Simpson already kind of like on tenterhooks all the time, really thinking that killing was the only option. He and his boys. He was so sad about his boys.
My boys!
In the car.
Didn't make it.
killed my boys.
He killed my boys.
Those were my
Now
boys.
We see him interacting with Trish and her kind of laying down the law, which was awesome. Trish was kind of a badass to him.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, get out. I don't trust you. Get out of here.
Yep.
Like, so cool.
he hits her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't. It was reactionary.
Yep.
It wasn't like he went out to strike her and he immediately tried to apologize, but it didn't change the fact that he hit her.
Yeah.
And he's in a rage. He's on some kind of stimulant to the next level. This is go pills to times 3.
And the fact that he used Trish's name to gain the trust of the detective to find out where Trish had gone.
Oh my God, that moment!
Like,
I'm sorry, I don't need it again.
he just has like the most. He has a very inflated and just delusional sense of justice.
For sure.
You know? And I mean, that scene when he showed up, like, I did not trust him immediately when he showed up and kept being like, Trish Walker. I was like, Trish Walker didn't talk to you.
I didn't trust him either, but I didn't think for a moment that he was gonna kill him.
Yeah, this and Daredevil, like, if you're an avuncular black man, do not interact with these characters between Ben and now the detective.
Yeah.
It's like all of my favorite characters must die, and like the characters that are really interesting and like can help the series. It's like, God.
Well,
Marvel.
And the detective was so interesting, and he got a lot of interesting things to do in, before he died. And that, finally he was seeing eye to eye with Jessica. He was totally on board. He's like, yeah, we got all the evidence we need on Killgrave. I totally believe you. We're going to go fix this.
Even like with the the handcuff was just gross. Following like with that. But even just I saw it's 100% true that she can't. She couldn't understand the order. Like,
Yes.
She didn't have to listen to him.
Yeah.
It's good. She's good. Let's do this. We got to go now. So with the chemicals and the burning of the body and the whole room, we lost the footage too because there was no distinct moment where we saw anybody. If I was Jessica, first thing I would have done, that tape is staying with me at all times.
Or
all
the
times.
SD card or whatever that footage is on, take it.
That was an old DV camera.
But the jump drive still exists, right?
But the jump drive still exists.
The jump drive, I'm sure, still exists, and I'm sure Jessica backed that up.
I would figure she'd copy
But-
the files to that projector.
Yeah. But it doesn't change the fact that the evidence that we needed to put Killgrave away is gone.
Doesn't matter. Killgrave got Hope out of prison anyway.
Yeah.
Wait, really quick,
So-
while we're still on Clemens, we even got the I'm 2 years from retirement.
I know. It's like
I
whenever
know.
a police officer says that in a show,
It's a death sentence.
when
They're
officer-
2 days away from death.
when Officer Hope says, "I am 2 days away from retirement," that person is going to die.
But that was 2 years. You're like,
2
oh,
years.
that's plenty of
Yeah.
time. It wasn't like, I got 3 weeks until I'm off, and damn it, I don't want this to be my last case. No.
Yeah.
But that way a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Maybe season 2.
Yeah. I mean,
He was 2 days from retirement. What happened? He took an early retirement.
I mean, we even
Sorry,
see
Futurama.
like
That's perfect.
we even see like the effects that like he gets affected by Killgrave. So like he's on board. Like he breaks his hand to get through the handcuffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's intense. Like, not just like attempt to follow. Like, no,
Yeah.
it
No.
is. We see in these episodes the power that he really has because it was like, I will break my hand out of these cuffs to follow you.
Yeah.
I will drop this gun to drive away with you. I will continue to try to shove this bullet, even when the gun doesn't work.
Yeah, when
She's
Trish was
putting
trying to put the
bullets in
bullet
her
in her
head.
head.
But again, we see the workaround with Killgrave's powers, where Jess puts it in her mouth, and she's like, "The bullet's in your head."
The minute I saw her doing that, I was just like, put it in your mouth. Just put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
counts.
Yeah.
Jesus. Ugh.
Yeah.
But she can't think. She's messed up.
Yeah.
I mean,
And technically, so did Killgrave. If you think about it, he didn't say exactly what he wanted her
Yeah,
to do.
it's
He
true.
said,
He
shoot
did. He
yourself.
said- he said,
To
put a bullet in your head.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, again,
So-
like a workaround.
Yeah.
But the dad still is handcuffed because he wants to cut his heart out.
Yeah, in the lab where he just sees the pocket knife. She's
Yeah.
like,
And she's
Yeah.
like, and he might stab himself. Cut my heart out. Are you
No, it's
really
not-
correcting me
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah. I mean, he's working on the vaccine. I think it worked.
The vaccine.
The vaccine.
I think it worked for a second.
Yeah.
Maybe it's well. I read it. I don't know. I was debating because he definitely hesitated.
Mm-hmm.
My thought was that it worked, but the dad is playing along in order to follow him.
Okay, so we found out that Jessica became immune because of such direct contact, but the parents aren't immune?
I mean, Jessica's also got superpowers, so maybe that boosts your immune system.
Exactly, and also, I think with his parents, I feel like with his parents when he was growing up, it probably wasn't that he was constantly in control, like constantly controlling all of their actions. It was just he made them do whatever he wanted them to do when it was convenient for him.
Yeah.
Whereas with Jessica, he was constantly exercising his control over her, except for, those 18 seconds, which we saw in that flashback.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so much so that he knew that one time that he hadn't commanded her 12 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So I think that Jessica building up an immunity is a direct result of her being under direct control for such a prolonged period of time.
Fair enough.
I mean, God, there's so much to get to, but it's like in the second episode when we see Hogarth at home.
We need to get to the second episode. We've got 15 minutes
No,
left.
I know. Well, let's talk about. I mean, we talk about pieces of it.
Yeah.
but yeah.
Not the flipping most important parts.
The reason why it's called 1,000 cuts.
Stop with the talking.
But Hogarth drives her away. Drives him away.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And when he says I need a doctor, someone you can trust. Immediately. Okay, we're going to Wendy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that sequence played out in a very frightening way.
Oh my God, it was so scary.
But when did anybody else feel that Hogarth not only making a change because of what Killgrave made her do to her, but in saying somebody that you trust, she still trusts Wendy.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form, there's still emotion there in a positive sense, despite all of the BS.
So much so that
divorce
she's
proceedings.
not willing to tell Pam what it was that because Pam knows about Killgrave and how he works.
Yeah.
She could have, in theory, he said, "Bring me to a doctor
Right.
that you trust." But that is admitted. That's telling your current girlfriend oh, I still I know it's trust and it's weird, but to say I don't trust my ex, but it's still an affection.
Yeah.
Right.
That was insane, so brutal to watch, and then having Pam be the one that kills Wendy. Holy crap.
I first thought knocked out, but then when they made the cut to where her head was inside the corner of the table, I was like, nope.
Yep.
If I had enough time to make a shirt that said nope, that's me during this show. Because I was standing for almost the entire second episode after the ending of the first, just
I was locked into my couch, unable to move. Type of lock.
Both of these episodes could definitely just be entitled "Bad Decisions." The episode,
the series.
I know.
Because that's the messed up part is that Hogarth wanted this.
Yeah.
She
I didn't
was
know.
in her mind, she wanted Killgrave to go there
Yep.
because then he could get her to sign the
Yeah.
divorce
Technically,
papers.
she got what she wanted.
Technically.
She got. Wendy was attacking Hogarth, from a legal standpoint. Wendy was attacking Hogarth. Pam broke in and acted in order to
in
defend
self-defense.
Hogarth. She is free of Wendy, which is what she wanted. Technically, Hogarth got what she wanted. I don't think Pam is okay.
No.
I don't think.
Pam's done. I believe Pam when she said she's done with Hogarth.
yeah.
Because
I
it was
agree too.
she really did because she knows she's I know you're lying words.
Well, and especially too, as Jessica points out when she shows up to the crime scene essentially, and she says to Pam, she says, what you did was self-defense. But to Hogarth, she says, you committed murder.
Yeah.
Because Hogarth intentionally severed the cords to do the electric shock in the water in the chamber. And then Killgrave was able to murder his mother.
And put her in a situation for Wendy to get murdered, and put Hope in a situation to die, and those people from the support group to hang themselves.
Let's
we haven't even
talk
gotten
about
to Robyn and her superpower, which is to knock a superhero out with a wooden board.
No, her superpower is just a lack of common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any regard. She has a captive.
Yeah.
Who says that? I don't
let's
like her.
Yeah, I really hated her. I mean, we went from feeling bad for like, I mean, it's grief. Like, you can't entirely blame someone for how they grieve because especially losing somebody that you've been with your whole life. That she was a very controlling older sister, to say the least.
Yeah.
But did she deserve to lose her brother? No. And her reactions, while not good, and ultimately resulted in the death of a bunch of people, are understandable.
Yes, and I was like, in a weird way, I was glad that she stalked Malcolm and found out about her brother's death through the Killgrave support group, because I was getting real annoyed at Malcolm for not just telling her. I was like, Malcolm, this is gonna come back to bite you in the ass, and it did.
Yeah, I was surprised when look, he covered up a murder.
Yeah.
Like, whatever the cause was and his responsibility, he covered it up,
Personally.
and that personally, and that it was weighing. That weighs on. That would weigh on anyone.
Yeah.
Especially someone that, as we have learned, Malcolm now is dealing with a lot of demons.
Yep.
So to add to that, to give him that one more thing, he just wanted to tell someone, and Jessica not willing to help and denying his sister, like Ruben's sister, the ability to move on.
Yeah.
It was too much. It was too much for him, so I don't blame him for snapping.
Yeah,
I
mean, there were just and you know, it got to a point where there were just too many people who knew about Ruben's death, who encountered Robyn, and just weren't telling her. So yeah, it was upsetting, but somehow satisfying. Basically, being like, there are consequences for those actions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like the idea of that safe space that really got violated when Robyn was there, and also violated when the mom was there, also technically, although she was actually no, that wasn't violated because she's been influenced by Killgrave for her entire life. But seeing Robyn there and then immediately say like, this wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Jessica, and then like two of them being like, yeah,
You're right.
Let's go storm her apartment and like
Let's attack her for somebody stealing my jacket.
Yeah, I mean, one of them was Jacket Guy.
Stylish guy?
Yeah, stylish guy.
Stylish guy.
Yeah.
And the other was a guy who abandoned his child and like lost his
He
life.
has real need for a support
yeah.
group. Jacket. I don't know why Jacket Guy keeps coming back.
I don't know. I mean,
It was a nice jacket.
I mean, I
really
get
nice
that he was he's traumatized from being influenced like that.
Yeah.
But still, like, why is he militant?
Yeah.
I agree with the militancy, but it's kind of a message where no action is too small for being violated.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
agree with
That's
that.
fair.
Yeah. He was made to do something against his own actual will.
Yeah. And then let's go into Hope for a second, because Hope, basically, once he gets out, I think this is Killgrave deciding, well, I tried the nice way. Now it's time for the threats.
Well, I don't know if Killgrave. Maybe he's still in love with Jessica, but
I think he is. Like,
but after her beating the crap out of him and torturing him ceaselessly, I think if he is still in love with her, has realized like, oh, if that's the way you're going to treat me, he thinks he's been fair and nice to her and charming to her. And so I think he's like, oh, if this is the way you're going to play it, I will also play bad. And so whatever his response to being tortured and, beaten is going to be tenfold what he's already been. I mean, we've never seen him take a chance like having a group of people in a restaurant hang themselves. Like, that's a huge chance. Like, everything he does is very calculated and small and controllable because he doesn't want to get found out. But that was a big thing.
But it was all with people who know that he exists.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
that makes it a little bit more dramatic. What was the more striking image, the police station or this? Do you think? Just personal opinion. What was more striking to you?
I think the police station, because of just like the fact that like when Jessica walks out and she's standing there, and like this was one of the earlier times that she had to be confronted with him in the series, and like the fact that she was surrounded. Although, as I say it, like the familiar restaurant with like the romantic setting
and people that we as the audience know.
Yes, and so for me, I'm gonna say the scene of them all standing on the edge of the bar about to hang themselves, and it has to do with these are characters who are familiar to us, but these are also people who are aware of Killgrave, and they're standing there knowing that there's a very good chance he's gonna make them hang themselves.
For me, I would say the police station, just because for the most part, police are supposed to represent relative safety, or at least that's kind of part of what they...
Order?
Yeah, an order. Again, for the most part, that's what they represent. And so having none of them being able to protect anyone or do anything about it kind of showed the full extent of like the powerlessness that anyone has against Killgrave. Except for Jessica.
Well, which one were you more terrified about? Leave a comment down below or rate us on iTunes. I think the...
Take a picture of yourself crying after watching the show.
Dark corners are encouraged. This, I think, was the more striking because they're going to do what he says and step off, and then they're going to have the moment of still being alive and dying. They're going to die with their free mind just being kind of released.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Because that immediately after that, they've done what they've been asked, so they're free.
I did love the we see like the power, demonstrated power jumping up like Toad style.
When Jessica pulled down the rafters.
Quick thinking.
It was awesome.
But as, like she basically has she has to do that choice thing where like do you just rush and like get some a hand on Hope, or do you jump up? And Hope dies asking Jessica to kill him. As Jessica did it played right into Killgrave's hands, handing over the dad.
It was such an upsetting choice that Hope made. But then again, you can it always goes back to you can understand why people are making these terrible, terrible choices.
It was her choice.
Exactly. Yeah. And in Hope's case, it's not a terrible choice in the way that it was a terrible choice for Jessica to go into the chamber and like beat Killgrave up. It was a terrible choice from the point of view of it was very sad that she sacrificed her own life, but from Hope's perspective, that was the best way to get Jessica to do what she wants, because she breaks the glass and Killgrave says, "Oh, you can't kill me," and she goes, "I know, but Jessica can," and just stabs herself in the neck.
She freed Jessica from mind control from Hope. Hope was controlling Jessica, and she freed her from that control. That's awful. That's terrible.
But still controlling her because saying like, now you have to kill Killgrave.
You have 12 hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just hitting my head on the mic because this is like, it hurts.
Also, we get that horrible thing where it's like, where can she go? Where her 12-year-old brother thinks she killed both of their parents. Like,
and didn't she say that they told him that she was dead too,
or something, like told him that she wasn't there or something that. Like
she said that her, I guess whatever family is taking care of her brother said that Hope was dead. And that is what that's it. Because it was such a terrible thing, and they don't believe her. No one believes her. Because to most people, it's an insane thing. To anyone that isn't familiar with Killgrave on a personal level, it is an insane thing. And she dies yelling, "Tell me." And that's where we left this episode. Oof. All right. I want to. I know we don't traditionally do this, but just real quick as we wrap out, I want to do a quick round of predictions.
Okay.
AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
And then we'll get out of here. What do you? The main reason I want to ask is the thing I want to ask you guys to predict. Do you think that Jessica will ultimately kill Killgrave? And I've shut down the chat for myself because I know a lot of people that are joining us have watched it, and I don't want to know what they think. I don't want to know if it happened or not.
Yeah.
As we've said, no spoilers. We've only watched up to episode 10.
Yeah.
We'll watch 11 and 12 before Monday.
Again, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, you guys have been amazing about that.
Yeah.
No time to give the spoiler-free review now. Do you think that Jessica is going to kill Killgrave?
I think thematically, it's the only way it can end. I think that the way that these 2 episodes were set up, if she does not, I think, unless there's some weird shenanigans, it thematically does not match what these episodes are set up. Also, real quick, Easter eggs in the very beginning of the show during the theme song. You can see the Avengers Tower. And you can also see Daredevil training with a heavy bag.
Oh, what?
Yeah, there's a guy wearing like a thing over his head, and like it's in silhouette, and he's like punching a heavy bag. Yeah.
Oh,
This is New York. This is Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
That's sly. I did not pick up on that.
Did you see the 2 hearts Easter egg? Did you mention that?
No.
You were talking about speculation as to whether Nuke had 2 hearts or
Yeah.
not. When
Yeah.
he's in the hospital, there's 2 heart monitors.
Oh, I missed that.
Do you think, because in the comics, his name is Frank Simpson.
Yeah.
It'd be very easy. I think they probably renamed
because of
him.
Frank.
Because of Frank Castle.
They didn't want to
Yeah.
confuse us with Frank Castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marvel thinks we're all idiots.
Yeah, because they're
have
not
2
gonna,
people with the same
they're
name.
They're
Fair
going
enough.
short of painting his face, and I don't think they will. I
No.
predict they will never paint his
Well,
face with an
we
American
were talking
flag.
about
but
the lighter had an American flag.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
Yeah.
He might have a uniform.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yes, I think Jessica will have to kill Killgrave.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think, Emma?
I think that she again. I think you put it really well, Jesse. She will have to kill Killgrave. I don't think that it's gonna basically boil down to there is no other choice. Because I think if Jessica's presented with the opportunity to make a different choice, she still wouldn't kill him. But I think that she's gonna have to.
Mark Donica.
I agree that Killgrave is going to have to be killed.
Yep.
But I don't think it's going to be the final confrontation. I think the final confrontation, the big bad confrontation, is going to be with our good old buddy Wil Simpson.
Yeah, with Nuke.
Who's like,
Oh,
you
good call.
killed
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Now you're the most powerful and most dangerous person. I have to kill you.
Oh, that's so good.
And
I
he
can't
goes,
top that.
and he
I'm
goes
not gonna
full.
try.
He goes full 11, and I think we will get some version of him painting his face. Maybe not necessarily the American flag, but some
some
version
war
of
paint.
him
Yeah.
just war
Yeah.
paint.
A war
Yeah.
paint face. I'm not going to top that, so thank you for joining us, guys. This has been the Jessica Jones After Show for Episode 9, A.K.A. Sin Bin, and A.K.A. 1,000 Cuts. Those of you who are wondering, unfortunately, busy schedules for all professionals that are doing this amazing show. Rosemary Rodriguez was not able to join us, but we'll maybe in the future. But like, she's a very talented, amazing director.
We'll
who I'm
get a
sure
chance to
is
talk to her.
Very busy. So until next week, Monday at 3 p.m., when we will have Wil Traval in studio with us. Jesse Klein, where can everyone keep up with you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JessKlein1, and you can see me doing live comedy all over the Los Angeles area.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Emma Fyffe and on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzzTV.com. If you want to know about them, follow me on Twitter. I tweet a lot.
You can find me at Soapbox Mark. I'm going to be in a dark corner most of this weekend until I watch these episodes and probably after. Soapbox Mark on Twitter.
And I'm on Twitter at @ZachWilson. Until next week, I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.